Hey, y'all. We are back with another episode of Eagle Talk. I believe this is 97.
Eagle Talk with Tim, number 97, baby. We are on our way.
We are getting there.
To episode number 100.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
We haven't decided how we're going to celebrate yet.
Not yet.
Well, y'all, today we are going to talk about a topic that most people in entrepreneurship hear, and we don't know how to answer it. But it's when somebody says, well, can I get a hookup? Can I get a discount?
No, we know how to answer it. No. That's the answer.
Well, okay. I had a real life situation as we started to talk about this topic, because Corey Lewis, have you ever asked anybody for a hookup?
We barter.
You barter. Okay. Yeah. Okay, you barter. Well, I will not go up to a counter without saying, y'all got any coupons back? So
that's not really a hookup though. That's not a hookup.
I don't know. Well, okay. So I will say that I think that it is natural for people to want to get a deal. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. Yes. Okay.
It's fair to say it's natural for people to want to get a deal. But it can, when people are always asking for a hookup or you to discount your services and not knowing how to approach that conversation, it can feel a little, it can feel a little gray. It can feel a little icky as an entrepreneur. And we're just going to kind of untap some of the reasons why you want to think twice before you start giving out hookups to every single person.
Yeah, but okay. I want to explain what I'm thinking when I say that. I'm thinking 2009, I opened up the barber school. 3 big windows, right? The right window says home of the $8 haircut.
Right.
Can you answer how many times somebody came in there and said, I got $5 for a haircut? I'm like, dude, it's $8.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, figure it out.
Yeah.
And, I'm not talking about like you asking $200,000 for your house. Let me get it for $120. That's not what I'm talking about. That's negotiating.
Okay.
Right. I'm talking like, dude, like the price is the price.
The price is the price. So we're just digging into these situations and just wanted to give some insights of like just kind of some conversations we've had behind the scenes of things, again, that I want you to think about, because this is what I will say in full transparency as a real estate agent. If somebody just right up to me, approaches me and says, look, I want to discount your services, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say, you know what, we're not a good fit for each other. Right. But I can think in particular, I had these clients that I was rocking with them for a long time. It was a long road to home ownership. And at the end of the day, like there were some twists and turns, a lender change at the last minute. And they were they were short. They would not have been able to purchase this home if the numbers didn't work out. And I'm talking a home they built. It would have been devastating for them. And I got permission from my broker, and I decided that I was going to, because there are some rules on what we can and cannot credit. I asked my broker, I went through the proper channels, and I told the clients, I said, you know what? This is the amount that you're short. I was able to work it out, and we were able to get you a credit. I never even told them. They didn't know until we were at closing that the credit came from my portion of commission. And in that sense, I didn't feel like they were not valuing who I was or what I did for them. It's just that the numbers were so jacked up. This lender actually screwed them over, and we had to do a Hail Mary at the end. I think that's different from somebody just coming and saying, okay, you got shirts for $29. Man, let me get 3 for $29.
Yeah, because so again, there's a difference in like problem solving or negotiating. Prime example. Tell me somebody right now that's gonna walk up to Beyonce and ask for a discount on her tickets right now.
You listen.
You follow what I'm saying?
Well, it's people that's gonna walk up, but
you understand
what are you gonna say?
The price is the price.
The price is
right?
the price.
So I think that it gets a little tricky sometimes when you playing the homeboy hookup game, because once you do it once, they're coming back.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like lending somebody some money.
Yep.
You lend it to them, they give it back to you maybe, right, on time or half and half or however it came. You better believe they're coming back again. So you just kind of got to stick to your guns in situations like this.
Okay, so you just hit point number 1 on why you want to be careful when you get that question, can I get a hookup, and you hooking up people up? Because we have to teach people or train people how to treat us, right? And if someone can come to you and they know that this is your number, but they can sweet talk you into coming off your number, what you're doing is you're setting a precedent, right? Definitely. And you know, what's going to happen is even if they refer you, they're going to refer you with the saying of like, oh, but when he say 200, you know, like, I know he'll do it for X because he did it for me. So we have to
or go to my boy because he gonna hook you up.
Go to my boy because he gonna hook you up. So we have to be careful of what precedent we want to set. But I will say, right, because I know some real estate agents who are like turn and burn agents. Like they are discount agents because for them it's all about the quantity of deals instead of the quality of the experience for their client. So if that's the type of business you want to run, that's cool, right? But you just have to be aware of the precedent that you are setting, because again, we train people on how to treat us, how to treat our brand, how to treat our business, and they're going to treat our business in that way if we set that precedent.
Yeah, and it goes back to knowing your value, right? We were at a mastermind a couple of weeks ago, and Glennis was speaking on a proposal that he gave for a particular company. I don't know if it was in LA or wherever it was. But he was saying that he sent the proposal almost kind of like unapologetically about his number. His number, I think it was like $8,000.
Yeah.
And he knew in the back of his mind that was his number and he wasn't coming off. He's like, he kind of said, I didn't care if I got the job, if I didn't get the job, but this is what it's going to take me to get the job, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like knowing your value and knowing your worth. And I don't think in the beginning, especially in business, you can kind of stick to your guns like that. Yeah. But once you're solidified and you're proven to be a professional in whatever industry it is, I think that you should deserve to get what your number is.
No, for sure. And one thing is that when we get into, you know, just offering hookups, it is starting to dilute our value. Definitely. Right? Yeah. It's starting to say, okay, and then we can play mind tricks with ourselves like, man, am I not worth this number? Is it that you're not worth it, or you keep bringing yourself down? And here is something that I know a lot of people struggle with in entrepreneurship, because we want to be attainable for everybody. But the reality, right, is that if I'm not even going to say, I was about to say Louis Vuitton. The reality is everybody can't shop at Target. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The reality is that they are targeting a certain demographic. And depending on where you are, you might not be the person to shop at Target, but can you shop when they have a clearance section, or can you shop somewhere else? You know, and that's the way we have to think about our brand. Like, we're not going to dilute our brand because this subset is either there. And sometimes we think that we have to bring our prices down because people don't value us. It's not that they don't value, we just might not be within their budget. Yeah. But because you're not within somebody's budget, it doesn't mean you have to dilute your brand. But maybe you can offer a lesser package, right? Hey, this is my price for this, but what's your budget? Because within your budget, I have this option, and then they can decide if they want to go with their budget or not. But you definitely need to really think hard and long about what your brand is and not dilute it. And one of the best episodes I think that we've done, it's an oldie but a goodie. It's not even on the YouTube platform. It's only on the podcast platform. Episode number 17. You are doper than you think you are.
Great episode.
And sometimes we dilute our value and we dilute our brand because we don't understand how dope what we're offering is. And in that episode, we just share how we had a friend who reminded us of our dopeness.
Yeah. Let's talk margins. I think that's the second one, right?
Yeah, the next one.
Profit and loss. I mean, that's important too when you're talking about the hookup, right? Because if you have a certain number that you think you're going to make or reach, giving too many discounts can definitely have you under that number. Yeah. Right?
And in most cases, you might end up making less than you would if you had a regular job.
Yeah, for sure. But on the flip side of that, like you were talking about the people that ask you to discount your services, and you said that you were not a good fit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a guy I met that is a $500 flat free broker. but he does like 60 listings a month, right? But he's doing nothing except putting it out there, right? You dealing with the phone calls, you dealing with the negotiations, and so on and so forth. So it's two sides of that coin. But still on that number, he's not negotiating on his $500.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Right. So
he's doing all of that volume, but he's still not. His number is his number to even get that done.
And that's what I think it is. Like, you have to figure out the type of business that you want to have, and be unapologetic about where you are with that. Now, I will say this though, because I do think that there is, like in real estate, it's a little different because we have standards in industry just in terms of commission structures and stuff like that. But for our people who provide goods and services, I do think that there is a period of time that you have to give yourself grace to understand market.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Understand market, understand what people are willing and what is fair market rates for what you are charging, because there have definitely been some things, right, that I've looked at what someone's charging and I'm like, well, that's not fair market rate to me. I'm not willing, like, it doesn't fit within my criteria, but maybe somebody else's it does. So I do say this, like, in the beginning, you may have to kiss a few frogs, right, and to go through some things to really understand what is fair market rate in your industry. But don't just go in, you know what I'm saying? If you shooting a whole wedding video photography for $100, you're doing something wrong, dog. You're doing something way wrong. Yeah.
And then also I'm thinking about social proof this morning. They were talking about shopping each other.
Yeah.
So Donnie was talking about how she reached out, I think it was Nia from the Circle of CEOs, and somebody else, how like she would send them an email to see almost as a, like trying to get one of their products or their services, right? And seeing what came back, how they communicated with their customer.
Yeah.
To and put some of that into what she does.
And do a market research,
exactly.
Right? So you have to do your market research. And that's my point about when you're first starting out. Sometimes you may need to do your market research to figure out what is normal in my market. And you have to hone it all the way down too. Who is my ideal customer? Because your ideal customer, you may have two people that have the same need, but one customer is going to be willing and able to invest at a different level than the other customer is going to be willing and able to invest. But number one, what is the expectation and the differences in the product you're producing? Right? And what are you willing to do that for? So, there's so many different examples that we can give, but I definitely think that, in business, sometimes you're just so hungry for somebody. It's just like, I give you half of this, or I do that, or I do it for that. Like, man, I really wouldn't. And then now you're disgruntled, you're frustrated, you feel undervalued. And now that just starts a spiral effect of burnout and leads you to not believing in the business that you're building.
Yeah. And I think that the information is key too.
Yeah.
Like they were talking about even, she said that you think Coke doesn't study Pepsi?
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're talking from a large scale to even a small scale on studying your customer and knowing your product for sure.
Okay. Now, before we end, I do want to just say this, because we just had a situation not too long ago where there is a contractor that we work with that brought some pricing to me. Right. And quite honestly, the pricing was outside of, it's not that I didn't see the value. It's just the pricing was outside of what I was able to commit to at that time. Yeah. And I was able to share with him, and I'm just sharing this because there was a time when I would have just been like, no, can't do it, don't want to do it, or ghosted or not called back. I was honest and saying, look, I absolutely see the value. And even me, I just did a course not too long ago, and we sent a survey to people who didn't buy. Like, what were some of the reasons that you didn't buy?
Information.
And a lot of people say, we saw the value. It's just that it's not a possibility for us at this time. And I want to bring that up because sometimes if somebody gives us a no for our business, we automatically take it personal, like it's about us and we're not good at what we do.
Let me ask you a question, because this is something that you and Kim work on. When you get that type of feedback that, let's just say the person couldn't afford it, do you think to the next level on creating something they can afford, or do you just kind of leave it at they just can't afford it?
Sometimes. So we do have some tiered pricing. So I'll give you a great example. I did a 4-week coaching thing for realtors that when we got into it, we were like, oh, we definitely undercharged for this, right? And we know the value that came from it. Now, we weren't mad that we undercharged because we learned a lot. And now we're going to go back to the drawing board and we're going to build it out a little differently. And we're going to raise the price, but we're also going to elevate the experience to match the price. Okay. But then we also decided, okay, we're going to create a 3-day experience at a very minimal price point. It's like $14, literally. And at this very minimal price point, it's entry level so that someone who couldn't even afford the thing that we undercharged for, they still will get the access to the information, to some information, not all of it. They're not going to have nowhere near the same resources and experiences, but they are going to get something, because what I want to do is start to prime them. So as their financial situation changes, like I have a resource for you that is going to be very valuable, right? But I'm not going to leave you hanging, right? So we have free things like my podcast, Real Estate Eagle Talk is free, right? So this is we have free resources. Then we have some entry level paid resources, but now we are building something that unapologetically, like if you, I know that listen, let me tell you something. If you're a real estate agent, get on my email list because what we're building for agents, we don't have a number yet, but it's definitely going to be significantly more of an investment than it was last time. It was $200. It was way too much value for $200, but we're going to be unapologetic about that number because we know that honestly, what I'm giving you is going to be invaluable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you why I asked that question because going back to the haircuts, we were $8, right? For 12 years.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we can talk inflation. We can talk the price of supplies being higher, clipper, neck strips, whatever. I went up to $10. Joliet was pissed at me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, do I lose this customer over $2 or do I
they adapt?
Right. Do I create something to make them see my value? And what me and Larry came up with was every first Tuesday of the month, haircuts are free. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So now you ain't got nothing to say because you can get your haircut for free. You can wait a month for that Tuesday, or you can get spend $10 one time
in between. Exactly.
Go. That's why I was asking.
And I think that what we're getting to, and this is something to know with the whole "can I get a hookup," is starting to understand and identify your ideal client, right? Because this is the thing, and this is the way I will position it. Let's just say this thing I'm building for realtors is $1,000. On average, an average commission in our market is $12,000. So if you can spend $1,000 with me, but I'm gonna show you how to make $12,000 over and over and over and over and over, it's worth it. Absolutely. Right? But can I jump out the gate and charge $12,000 for this experience? Maybe not quite yet, right? So it's understanding who my ideal audience is and understanding what they're able to do. And the same thing with us in business when we get these hookup conversations. Is everybody you asking for a hookup because you're marketing, right? You have an ideal client in mind, but you're marketing to a different type of client that is more, they don't have the disposable income for what it is that or the mindset to invest in what it is that you're giving, or the resources. Like there's just so many different parts. But I think our whole point of this podcast is not to just be so quick to just throw it all away, and you have to be okay with the no, right? If someone says, you know what, I appreciate it, but it's not gonna work for me, understand that don't mean you need to shut down your business on Tuesday.
Don't mean you did anything wrong.
Yep. Now, could there be learning lessons there? Could there be areas of opportunity? Absolutely. But sometimes discounting your number is not always the answer.
Yeah. All right, y'all. So there you go.
There we go.
We're talking about hookups and things. I hope this was good for y'all.
Speaking of hookup, though, can you hook us up? We need them to hook us up.
We sure do. We're talking about don't ask for no hookups. Now we're gonna ask.
But this not gonna cost you $1, right? It's just gonna cost you 2 minutes of your time. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review.
Yes.
And write a review because in the podcast world, like the way you hook up podcasters for real, is like letting the people know, sharing the podcast, writing a quick review. It would mean more to us than you would know.
It does.
And we can't wait to see you next week.
We'll see y'all later.
Bye.